everyone, what is up? Welcome to the channel and welcome to another car review. And today we're in a 2017 Honda Civic Type R. Now this Type R was the first Type R that they delivered in the United States for the Civic. They never had one over here. And the first thing that we get is a turbocharged Civic Type R. Now, part of me is disappointed because when I think Type R, I'm thinking like the B series and the K series and naturally aspirate crazy engines. But this still has a K20 C1 under the hood. It's just turbocharged, of course. It makes 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Now this engine is also not stock. It has an engine intake. It has a couple of oil catch cans. It also has a radiator reservoir because the stock one's plastic. Now it is made out of aluminum, so it looks a little bit better, and it's also better in that regard as well. And it has an oil cooler to keep everything nice and cool when you're driving with purpose. Party trick of this car though is this. Oh man, it's so solid through this corner. Rubs a little. That is so nice. And the tires on this are a little bit too big. They're 265 instead of 255, so that's why it rubs. Man, this thing pulls so nicely, and that is why I don't mind that it's turbocharged, because all that torque is usable from 2,500 RPM all the way up to 5,500 RPM. I drove that RSX, of course, and that had a K20 in it, a naturally aspirated one, and you had to work to get to the power. You had to work to move on, and this just, it's effortless almost. I'll get a red light over here. There's a Tesla over there too, so if he wants to play, we're gonna lose. Get on these brakes here. Oh man, I like these brakes, and I like this automatic downshift rev matching thing too. Now, I personally, on my daily drivers, I would definitely shut it off because I like to use engine braking when I drive manuals. But for this, you have to go into settings to turn that on and off, and you know, we're just not going to do that. Talk about settings. Right now, we are in the R mode. Now, another thing, since we're stuck at the light, is the displays that you have on the Speedo. I really enjoy that you have these different modes, like speed, G meter, you get a timer in there, of course, you know, you can run out of gas, you can figure that out too. Navigation, all kinds of stuff. Now, my favorite part is definitely going to be the turbocharger, because you see the PSI move up and down as you drive. That's awesome. I'm gonna lose. That shift, but we held him off. He came by, and if I kept going, he would have been hosed. So electronic, you still don't get the passion like this. Anyway, we're gonna take this turnaround over here. That's enough playing. Turbocharged noises, that's all stuff that you do not get with those electric cars. Now this car does have an HKS exhaust, but it's still stock tuned, so it's making stock power, and I'm pretty freaking impressed by the way this car pulls. It is so buttery smooth. And actually, I did notice that the red line actually comes at about 6,800 RPM instead of 7 grand indicated. So let's talk about the exterior styling. Now, this is not completely stock. Of course, it has a couple of additions. The most noticeable one is, of course, this rear wing that the owner had to wait months for to arrive from Japan. And another thing that the owner did was add custom ground effect. So it has a custom front splitter and side splitters as well. And I think it sets this car off. It looks great on this car, and especially because the owner did it himself. You know, that adds that extra bit of pizzazz to it, in my opinion. On the exterior styling, you also have to mention that back end. It has 2 tailpipes. Stock, it has 3, but of course this has the HKS exhaust, so it has 2 tailpipes, and I think it looks right. I've driven that Civic Sport, and that had the 2 tailpipes, and I like the look on that. When you continue on about the exterior styling, it definitely has that boy racer look, and I think there's a lot of people that say, okay, I'm a fan of it or I'm not a fan of it. Me personally, I kind of like it, and that's one of those things you probably shouldn't admit that, just like you shouldn't admit you like straight pipe VQs, but I also like straight pipe VQs. I know it's bad, but this is all good. No heel towing needed. Yeah, this car just handles so nicely, and these seats also, you'd think they were Caros, but no, they're freaking stock Honda, and they hold you in place so well. And it also does none of that wheel spin thing. You know, you'd almost think that this is not a front-wheel drive car. I mean, this is great. Just amazing to me, guys. This is just absolutely freaking amazing. The way this car pulls, you get out that corner and it's like those front wheels, they just claw you out of there. They just pull you out of there. It's such a weird sensation, really. Get on these brakes here real quick. That's so nice. What I also love about this car, torque steer, there is none. It's freaking crazy. Usually with high horsepower cars, you feel the car kind of like trying to pull you in one direction or the other. This, nope. This is just freaking exhilarating. That's, I think, the word you should use in a car like this. It is amazing how this car pulls and how this car just keeps you on the road. And to talk about the prowess, everyone wants to bring up the Nürburgring. This, when it came out, was the fastest front-wheel drive car around the Nürburgring. So you know that you got cred if you go through the green hell and you put down a record time. The revs at 60 over here are 2,400 RPM, which is not insanely high. I always like to see it at 2,000, but for this car, I can live with 2,400 RPM. And that never gets old too. I mean, that's freaking amazing. And I can beat him. This is a perma smile on your face. It just is. A car like this. No, when you talk about the interior, it is just like the exterior. It is hyper style. There's not a surface on this car that doesn't remind you that you are in a Type R, that you are in not a pedestrian Civic. So I think if you look at this car, you think the Fast and Furious, you're gonna be pretty much bang on. And the owner actually did something funny in the interior over here. He put a button on there that says ejecto seat. So it's like, ejecto-cito, cuz! Now the suspension on this car is still stock, but it is on Eibach lowering springs, so it's a little bit lower, and that also explains the rubbing in combination with those 265 tires. The fact that this stock suspension is so nice, and we are in R mode, amazes me too. That just shows that they really did a good job making this car go and drive. And of course this. Turbocharger start doing its thing, and that is just a great sound to me. Now the thing that I really like about this car also is its versatility. You have the ability to take 4 people with you. You have a huge trunk, so it's actually next to a car that's very capable and very quick and fun to drive, very practical as well. And I think a conclusion on this car is very, very simple. You just let the car do the talking. And that is what it's all about. Speed, acceleration, a lot of fun. Rolo, thank you so much for letting me drive your Type R. It has been a freaking great experience. The first Type R in the United States, and I think they did a bang-up job. I hope you guys enjoyed this car review, and I will see you on the flip side. That always makes me cringe, you know? It's like you're hurting something.
And it's not like you can roll the fenders because you got plastic and sheet metal. So
Yeah, it looks completely different than a stock car too.
I'm just waiting to wear those tires off.
Yeah.
And then go to the correct size. I was too greedy on the tires.
Yeah, you were like, I want more.
Yeah.
The only problem with this car is though, when you down like you do this, boom, boom, this cop's gonna go. Yeah. I got you, boy.
But that's because of the catless downpipe, because before you couldn't hear nothing.